Alright, what's happening? So, with DC going full force with the cinematic universe, I just want to explore the possibility of some things that can happen on screen, similar to the way that they went down in the comics. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Alright, so now with Warner Brother using a lot of influence from the New 52 line of comics for the DCU, they mixed it up with a few different iterations, but for the majority of what they're using is coming from the New 52 line. And it's not too far-fetched for us to see the Man of Steel and the Amazonian Princess find romance in the air at some point in time. And so to explain everything, I've broken it up in two parts. The first part being how, meaning what events open up this opportunity, what possible events open up the opportunity, and why. Subtitle the need, or what on-screen points make this relationship plausible. Alright, so here we go. First, starting with the how. Now, I know for those of you that seen Batman v Superman, you're probably thinking that Lois is the key and blah blah blah, all the things that or you think that Superman has to be with Lois because everything that Flash said. Well, check this out. Well, because Flash went back in time visiting Bruce in the Batcave, I believe that may have caused like a ripple effect of events that support my argument. So because Flash pays Wayne this visit in the Batcave, now Batman is on a mission to unite the Justice League. And with that change, one of the first people that Batman has teamed up with to do so is Wonder Woman. And now that, okay, so we know Superman's gonna come back, that's a given. This guy just doesn't stay dead, but keep that in mind. So in the comics, anytime that Superman has died and come back, he's always come back different. And this could manifest in a plausible segue to where Clark wants to keep a distance from Lois, more so for her safety, which is one possible route. And I'll mention another one in a moment. But for now, let's jump to Diana. Now, Diana is a lot like Superman. She hasn't been in a lot of relationships. And I'm going off the DCU, assumingly what they're using for her backstory. And versus the comic iterations where she had interest with Batman or even married Aquaman. Which in that case was just for political reasons, but still. So it looks like for her backstory, Warner Brothers is going with the Steve Trevor story as her first love. And for those of you that follow the comic books, you know that that was her first love, and that was the first man that she's ever met. And like when he crash landed on her island and she nursed him back to health, that's when they fell in love with one another. Now, her relationship with Steve had its ups and downs, but they loved each other. And over time, their love and their relationship developed past the stereotypes that they were raised on, or the views they were raised on as far as the opposite sex. Now, what the DCU is going to do with the separation of Steve and Diana, how they're going to handle it, because there's a few different ways it broke down in the comics, but more commonly Steve, spoiler alert, Steve dies. And which takes me to the second point I was making with Lois. If they took the same route with her passing away, you know, for one thing, Clark does not take that well in any iteration of any of the comics. So, and like we saw even in Batman v Superman, what he may turn into if he loses Lois. Which takes me to another point of Diana, who handles loss way better than Superman does. Because he just doesn't take it well emotionally, which in a sense makes sense that Diana will handle it better because she's a warrior. She's older, meaning more mature, or more experienced at continuing in a set path, persevering through heartache or even through a time of loss, which would make her a great anchor for Clark. Because aside from, kryptonite is not his only weakness, but he has a tender heart, so when heartbroken, he can go off the wire. So, which brings me to the next part, which is called Why, or subtitled The Need. So, with this half, I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to start with Diana first. Now, with post-Trevor, she has, she's been around the world and she's met different types of men, but I believe for the most part she's met 3 different kind of men. And the first one is that, the know-it-all type of guy. Could be like that rich dude who's like, I've seen women like you before, kind of like her encounter with Bruce, to where, he's like, I've seen plenty of women like you, and she counters back like, you've never met a woman like me. And I love that she says that. But that's the first guy, who, like I said, Bruce is the example of that. The second guy, number 2, is the insecure man. And I believe a lot of women who are beautiful, powerful, and successful have this problem of men who are intimidated by all of the above. And I feel like Steve Trevor at times fell into that category. Not initially, but when he continually found himself in instances where she had to save him, he, kind of like how you have your damsel in distress, he was your quote unquote gentleman in jeopardy. And things like that take a toll on a relationship, and it's energy exuded when you have to make sure somebody's all right all the time. But that's number 2. So for the third one, you have your pro alpha who's over the top and feels like he needs to set himself above his woman. For example, the type of man who feels like his woman needs to be seen and not heard, which Wonderwoman ain't going for that. And I think the most popular example is the Flashpoint story, where she married Aquaman for political reasons, but he was more of that king that would, more so put his wife in the background. Yeah, she ain't having that. But to bring it all in, she would see something in Clark that she hasn't seen in another man before. He doesn't have the reason to feel like he needs to prove himself to her. He's also not mortal, or somebody that she would have to suffer loss again to. And I feel like he would see the same in her, being if he had lost Lois, that he wouldn't have to worry about losing her. Which on either end, I can understand with them having a loss and being invulnerable. It feels like there's relief, so to speak, not having to worry so much about one or the other. Another thing I feel like that they would share here is a understanding of one another's loneliness, of and Diana being an outcast from her heritage, and for Clark being the last of his race. That there's a deep loneliness that each one has suffered, and only one another would understand. But I'm gonna wrap it up there. But yeah, if anyone listening, if y'all have any ideas or thoughts, comments, leave it all below. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, later.